Hey guys, welcome back. Let's see if we can get this dude finished up here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to select everything and right click and press hide selected. I'm going to load in the medium resolution for the pliers and tools and things like that. So let's go ahead and bring in the wherever they are, pliers. Wow. Pliers a single mesh, that's for sure, and import. So we've got quite a high res mesh there. I'm going to go import for the hammer. There we go. Import again, and we're going to do import for the pliers 2 and import there. Okay. So, we need to get the low res for these, and I think we're just going to cheat a little bit and just get the low res that we made originally. So let's go ahead and go import, and I think if we go back to props obj, we'll be able to bring in the pliers and import those. Let's close that. So we've got these, which is going to work absolutely fine for us for the low res. Notice that they're ginormous compared to the originals all the way down here. So let's go ahead and scale those down like a huge amount. Just drag with the central section of the gizmo just to do uniform scaling. And we're going to get these down to roughly the same size, roughly the same place for them. Let's just move these into position. Let's turn off any snapping options we may have turned on. Let's rotate that. Try and get this into an accurate position. Needs to be scaled a bit and rotated a bit. Let's just go into our front wireframe viewport. Zoom all the way in. And let's scale that up. And that's roughly about right. Let's try the top view. Zoom all the way in. Still needs a bit more tweakage. And needs rotating. And to the left viewport. Not too bad. There we go, that's enveloping pretty much most of it. So, not a whole lot we need to do, but we do need to reduce the poly count on this these cylinders. We're actually going to pretty much completely remove them. So, just going to modify them a little bit, and by that I mean we are going to, let's just finish stretching them out a little bit. Let's just scale it a little bit this way, shunt it that way a bit, let's rotate it on the axis there. That's pretty much right. We're going to be using the push modifier on these anyway, so should fix anything that's not quite right. To be honest, I might not even bother texture baking these. I might just give them a quick paint over in Photoshop. So let's go ahead and hide the high res. So I'm just going to select it, right click and press hide selection. And let's just go into element selection mode and click on one of the cylinders, because we did get two. For some reason I managed to duplicate it. But on here, what we want to do is pretty much just create a bit of fake detail. We're not going to have, we haven't got too many edge loops. Well, we do. But let's just replace this with a simple cylinder. Let's just do cylinder, we'll turn on auto grid, and just draw that onto the surface. I think it's a bit too small, but yeah, a bit too small for us to draw out. Let's just make it big, and then we'll scale it down. And this is just going to give us a little bit of detail. It's not going to be fantastic, but it'll replace this well enough. So if we just position that sort of over here, let's just increase the scale of it a little bit more. And just going into the modifier panel, we're going to turn down the number of sides that it has, turn down to about 12, and turn the height segments all the way down to 1. We'll put a cap segment in, just so that it triangulates everything at the top for us. We'll then right click and turn it to an editable poly. Grab the vertices and on the other side, and then we'll just drag that over. So, not particularly elegant, but it's going to do alright for us. And from here we can just click on editable poly, go back to our original mesh, choose select element, click on this section and delete it. And then we'll just attach this to that. And now we need to set the pivot point, so affect pivot point only, and we'll get the move tool and set this to 0, 0, 0. And for these pliers, we'll do exactly the same. We're actually just going to flip them over. So to do this, we can just select these pliers, go onto the rotate tool, hold down the shift key and just drag it, and that will duplicate it for us. We can create a copy of that. Then we can move it into position. It's going to be a little bit awkward doing it like that, so I'm going to go click Effect Pivot Only and press Center to Object and turn off Effect Pivot. And that's just going to set the pivot point to the center of this object, and we're going to scale it down. It's only the handle that will actually have visible anyway, so it's not going to be a massive deal. We're not going to bother projecting any of the detail off there because it's not worth it. We'll just do a bit of Photoshop trickery on there. But we'll just get it lined up anyway, so it's around about right. Just so it fits in with our low res, because that's how we organised everything. So let's just delete the high res here. And let's just do the hammer. We'll set the pivot point to 0, 0. So select your object, go to hierarchy, affect pivot point only, select the move tool, and type in 0, 0, 0 down the bottom. Turn off effect pivot point, and that's all done. So with the hammer, we're going to go import, and we'll do the hammer obj. We'll import that and close. It's going to do us fine. Just need to scale it down. Zoom extents. A bit more. And there we go. Let's get this into position. Probably need to scale it a little bit more. I think what we'll do here is just edit this low poly a little bit because it's a little bit too low poly, to be honest. So I'm just going to get this round about right with much difficulty. And just quickly I'm going to go over to the modify panel, choose edge selection mode, and I'm going to select all the the vertical edges, hit loop, and then I'm going to actually just chamfer it. I'm going to click on chamfer, and I'm going to turn the number of chamfered segments up just to 3, and turn the size of the chamfer up as well, just so it rounds out the sides a little bit for us without increasing the poly count too much. So just get a little bit nicer lighting and things on there. So let's go back to moving this into position. That's getting about right. When we re-export this, it'll get triangulated anyway, so we don't have to worry about the top, although it can be a problem when it comes to UV mapping. So there we go, it's the hammer about right. It's never going to be perfect. Well, it would be if we bothered, but again, this is only a prop. We're not even going to texture project onto it. I'm just going to paint it and just kind of use a generated normal map and do it that way. So there we go, it's a hammer done. Let's delete the high res. And let's just sort out the caps on top of here. Let's just go into polygon select mode and click on these. We'll just go inset, and then we'll go on to vertex selection mode. In fact, we'll go back onto polygon selection mode, press inset and tick that. We'll go on to scale, and we'll just select the bottom polygon for now, scale that in towards the center. Go on to vertex selection mode and select all those, and then we'll press weld. So let's put it down to a quad for us, which is quite nice, but we don't need the polygons, so just scale them down, press weld again until they become a single vertex. We'll do the same on the top. Scale it down, keep it going, as small as you can get it. Select vertex mode, select the vertices in the center and press weld. Still got 3 left, so let's just scale these together a bit more. And press weld, there we go. Brilliant. Okay, that's the hammer done. So there's the tools all sorted. So let's just get them UV mapped. Let's see what we need to do to get them UV'd. Let's see. So let's first of all, we might as well send them over to, we're just going to join them all up, just going to attach them all. Just press OK for now. We'll sort out the material IDs and things later on. But let's just get all these attached. There we go. And from here, if we just set the pivot point back to 0, 0, so 0, 0, 0, there we go. We'll go export selected, and we'll do tools. Might as well just put Forge in front, just to keep the convention up. And export. We'll head into 3D codes, and we'll go File, Import, Model for Per Texture Painting. Go to our low res, and we'll get Forge Tools. Press Open, and press OK. And press OK. There we go. Let's wait for it to load that in. Hopefully not crash. There we go. So let's just go onto our UV mode, and everything's really screwed up. Let's just go ahead and press clear seams, and then we'll do unwrap. There we go. So let's go ahead and get these UV mapped. Let's go onto edge loops, and we'll mark an edge loop around these cylinders. This is going to be the easiest thing to do first of all. And we'll put a seam just down the center of one, just down the center of the other one. There we go. And from there, we'll put an edge loop. Actually, we'll mark a seam along there. And down here, and then we'll put an edge loop between these points, and down here we'll do edge, mark an edge, and we'll just put this UV there. So it should come off in one section. Can't see my edge selections anymore. So just press Control D to deselect, something I picked up a little bit earlier. And yeah, let's pop another edge loop around this section, down here to this point, and let's see, that almost unwraps well. Oh, I see, it's when my mouse drags over these sections while I'm holding the left mouse button. So keep that in mind not to do that, and let's just cut that bit off. So that bit is perfect. This bit is not so much. Let's go on to mark seams and Control click on that one. And that's pretty tidy as well. So that's good. That's that bit done. Let's just do the same on this section. Just going to put a cut in there, and just going to mirror it basically. Just going to put a cut in there, and cut, cut, cut. Mark seams, cut there, cut there, cut there, edge loops, and complete that. So that's solid, that's done. This section is not. So what did I do there to solve that bit? Nothing apparently, it just worked. Let's press unwrap, see what kind of effect we get. Obviously that's wrong. So let's see where I need to cut it just to make that work like the top section. Looks like it might be this bit there. There, oops. There, and there we go. Pretty much the same. Can just remove that bit, and that's going to be the same as the other side, so that's done. Let's get these handles unwrapped. So on here, I'm just going to select the entire top of the edge loop. I'm then just going to go on to mark seams and Control and click on that section. And I might as well just go ahead and manually click on these bits, do them at the same time. Go to edge loops and slice down the corner. And do the same down the bottom. Click, 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 click. And there we go, that's the handles all unwrapped. Cool. We could do the same to this, though I think what I'm going to do is when we get back into Max, I'm just going to delete that one, and I'm just going to copy this so it even occupies the same UV space. And we'll just get the hammer done now. So let's just cut the top off. I'm just going to undo one of the seams there, and do the same on the bottom, and we'll do mark seams, Control and click on that, and then we'll just do a edge loop cut up the side here. That'll unwrap that quite well, perfectly actually. We'll do the same on here. Let's just click, click, and it's fine. In fact, I'm going to click on that side and unclick that side. Select down here, select down there, and click, 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 and that's the hammer done. I love this program. Let's hit unwrap, and yeah, I think what we'll do now is just do apply UV set, press OK, file, export model, UV mapped, and let's just click on Forge Tools first of all, and go into UV map folder, and underscore UV, save, and OK. Let's get back into Max. I'm going to delete these. File, import from exports, low res, UV mapped, Forge Tools UV, import. There we go. And I'm going to go on to polygon selection mode, and I'm going to delete, well, all of this basically. It's going to delete that these pliers entirely. I'm just going to go on to element selection mode, delete, 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 and I'm going to select that. In fact, before I delete it, I'm just going to make sure I get it in the right place. So I'm going to go onto element selection mode and select this bit. I'm going to do shift and drag, and I'm going to do clone to element, so it's still part of the same object. Then just going to do polygon selection and rotate this around. Everything's all screwed up. So I think what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to select all these polys, and I'm going to actually find out why that was happening, but just going to press where is it? Detach, and I'm going to do detach as clone and press OK. So from here, if I just select polygon mode, just going to select this and delete, and this will now be a complete separate object for me. Let's go into hierarchy and do center to object so I can move it around a bit easier. Just flip it round, scale it. Let's go to the front view and zoom extent so I can see it. Press F on the keyboard to go to the front view. And it's almost around about right. Let's just flip that along this axis here. Drag that into place, so it's close enough. It's not going to make much of a difference to anything, so there we go. Let's jump back onto tool selection. Select the polygons. Deselect the ones we don't want to delete. Just delete that. We'll then select the new pliers and we'll click attach on there, and that's fine. Let's just set the hierarchy panel affect pivot point 0, 0, 0. That's great. And now we'll just re-export those. Just click on them, export, export selected, and we'll just put them overwriting the original UV map tools. Okie doke, so that's all of our bits and pieces done. Except for the little boot charms. I don't know what I want to do with those. Let's just unhide everything, and let's just delete the high res of those pliers. I think the high res of the hammer's been deleted. So we've got the details around the boots, those accessories. I think they added quite a lot to the characters, so I think I'm going to put them back in. So I'm just going to go import. Going to go to the medium res. Didn't want to create a new folder. I want to press the up button. Medium res, and then we have boots, boot rings, and boot trim. Let's put the trim in and import. So we have a lot of stuff here. I think we could probably just bake that into the texture. I'm not so sure. we'll figure that out a bit later. Just going to delete those for now. What I might do is when I've got these sections all done and UV mapped, I might just reuse this geometry down at the bottom, because it'll still use the same UV, same texture. So I think these will work absolutely fine. Yeah, that'll do. We'll get to that in a moment though. So let's see, everything is now low res, everything's now UV'd. So what we need to do now is tidy up the UV maps, make sure we've got our sections, our UV maps organised exactly how we want them. First of all, I'm just going to save up. I really should set a project for this inside Max, just because doing this every time is really irritating. So let's just do Max. We'll just save over that. There we go. Okay, so what we really need to do now is sort out what we want within the different UV areas. So, for instance, what we would like is to have, when we create our cages, we're going to need to create different sections. We're actually going to bake out textures individually and then patch them together afterwards in Photoshop. So we need to think about how we'd like the resolution of our textures to be as well. So there's no real easy way to describe this, but for instance, we want the head at a higher resolution than the rest of the body, and we want the rest of the body at a higher resolution than the accessories and things. So we need to organise our UV templates to suit. So first of all, I'm going to create a layer set. So if we click on Manage Layers up here, and we're going to create a new layer, and I'm going to just call this Low Res, and I'm going to select everything. I'm going to right click on the layer and press Add Selected Objects. So this will allow me to easily switch between high res and low res when it comes to the cage making rather. So let's go ahead and organise these UVs. First of all, I want to do the head, so we're going to hide unselected. And now if we have a look at the UV seams, if we just go ahead and do Unwrap UVW, you can see we have a seam which comes around this point, just where that diamond matches in, and around the front on that edge loop. What I want to do is actually start taking the mesh apart into the different sections. So the head is going to have its own UV map. So what we're going to do is chop his head off along this seam. So I'm going to just collapse this down for now. And I'm going to go into polygon selection mode. I'm just going to go to the lasso tool. So just select this one here. And I'm just going to drag a selection over where I remember the edge loops to be. Not far off. Deselect the ones we don't want. There we go. And now I'm going to detach the head. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to press detach, and I'm going to call this forge underscore head. Press OK, and that's going to have separated the head off. And from here we can start organising the UV map. So if we reapply the Unwrap UVW modifier and open up the UV editor, you see that we actually have our head. So it's tiny at the moment. We want it to take up all of this space here. We also want everything to be in scale with each other, so we want to scale everything up together by going on to polygon selection mode, selecting everything in the UV editor, and just resizing everything, mostly focusing on the actual face itself because that's the most important part. But we can rotate and translate everything around as much as we want, but don't change the scale of the individual elements, otherwise this will cause very, very obvious seams. I'll be able to fix them up a little bit, but to be honest, I'd rather just not get any seams in the first place. So let's just make sure that this gets scaled down, hold down Control to make sure the proportions are constrained. And just get that in as straight as we can, really. I'll then deselect the head and just move everything else in. Got the mouth bag there, which to be honest isn't a very important part. So I'm going to just pop that there. I'm going to drop the ears up in the corner. Let's deselect that. And drop this one in here as well. Try and utilize as much space as you can. There's no sense in wasting space. And it's going to be nostrils and the eyelids and things. There we go. Cool. So I think I'm just going to drop the mouth bag up in the top left corner. It's because I'm not going to put anything else there. And that fits. I might actually rotate it around a little bit more. Fit it into this gap. There we go. Okay, so that's the head in a good place. We've got a little bit to tidy up on here as well. So let's just grab the vertex selection mode from the far right side and just move these vertices around so they're no longer overlapping each other and there's a bit of a gap in between them. So no need to move them too dramatically, just move them about half of what you would expect and then move the corresponding one above the same distance, and that'll create a good gap without squashing too much of our UVs. So this, just a very slight difference. And this will create a nice gap for the mouth, so we don't get any overlapping texture baking. And we've got to do the same down here. Let's just move one of these vertices down so they're not overlapping so much. Well, at all. This one's going to be quite extreme, so I'm going to select several vertices all at once, including the ones below it, and then I'm just going to move them a bit further down and then tweak each individual vertex. Move the neck slightly. So probably going to have a seam to fix there, but it's under the chin, so it's not going to make too much of a difference. And there we go. So that's the UVs for the head done. So we're going to collapse that and press yes. Now we really want to make sure that the beard is on the same UV map because we've got a lot of unused space. So if we go unhide all, and we'll select the beard and the beard braids and the eyes as well as the head, and then we'll right click and press hide unselected. We're then going to attach the beard to the face for now. Let's press OK on there. Oops. Attach and click on the head and do not modify matte IDs or material. Yeah, it's still going to do it anyway. So let's just hit M. If this comes up looking any more complicated, just go on to mode and choose compact material editor. We should be able to just drag. That's going to play up. Let's just choose the head and we'll attach the beard and choose match materials to IDs. We'll also attach the eyes, okay, and the beard braids. There we go. So next we just want to again apply the unwrap UVW modifier. Go onto the tweaked view and you see this looks kind of crazy. So what we're going to do is just select each individual section. We're going to select the eye first of all and just going to click the grow selection option. And that's going to select the UVs for one of the eyes. Just going to move that off and do the same on the other side. move those off. Those are the two eyes. We then have the beard. Just going to grow the selection on there until we've got the whole beard selected. And drag that off to the side. And then finally we have the beard braids, which will also move off to the top. So we've got the eyes here. These are the right and left eye, front and back. Now we're going to scale these down because we don't want them to have more resolution than the rest of the head, as it's completely pointless. But we do want it to sort of have the right kind of scale for eyes. So that'll do quite well, I think. So let's move that down under here, and let's figure out which one's which. This is the back of his left eye, or our right. So the back is less important. Just going to just move that off to the side. We have the front, and we're just going to pop that down here. We have the, let's just reorganize that, let's just grow it. And this looks to be the back of the other eye. So just to keep everything well organized, so if we do have to edit anything we can easily tell where things are. Let's just drag that over there, and we'll get the front. Oh, looks like I dragged the wrong one. So that's the front of the other eye. So now we can tell we have the eyes there. Quite obvious which one's which. And now we need to get the beard in place. Now, beard, scale-wise, that's the front of the beard. Obviously that's quite large. So let's just kind of scale that so it makes sense in the rest of the scale of the face. Of course it's upside down, so let's just flip that around. I'm going to turn on angle snap toggle up here and just flip it 180 degrees. Turn that back off and just undo that and select the move tool, and that's around about right. A little bit smaller than it should be, but to be honest we're going to need to scale this, otherwise we're never going to get it to fit. So I'm going to move this into position here. It's going to rotate it 90 degrees. Move that in there. It's going to deselect the front of the beard, which leaves us with the back, and hopefully we'll be able to squeeze it in. Looks like we might need to scale it down a little bit, but that's okay. It's the back of the beard, so it's not a major part. It's not going to be a part which we see much, if at all. So let's see if we can get it to fit in a little bit better. Let's just select the rest of the beard. Deselect the rest of that. And move that maybe up, or maybe even down, a bit further to the right. Select the upper part of the beard. So I think you can see just how exhausting UV mapping is inside of Max. There we go. So we managed to get this fit in without too much of a downscaling. Might even be able to pop the res up a little bit higher. Get a few more pixels in there. There we go. Okay, so next we need the beard braids. These are tiny little details which really don't matter. So let's just go ahead and scale these down. And we'll drop those in there. Going to space them out a little bit more just in case. There we go. Alrighty, so that's going to do okay for our head. That's great. Let's just close that down. Just going to right click and press collapse to. Going to select yes. And now we've done that, now we've attached it, we just need to detach everything. So I'm just going to select by element and we're going to detach this and call that Forge Beard. Okay. I'm going to select by elements and do the eyes, and detach and call that Forge Eyes, and do the same with these braids. We'll detach and do Forge Braids. Okay. So now we've got our separate objects again, as we'll be baking out everything individually, so that's all good. So that's the head done, so the head and the beard and things. So I'm actually going to select all these. I'm going to go to my manage layers. I'm going to create a new layer and call that head beard, and right click and press add selected objects. So now if we just unhide all, and from here we can turn off the head and the beard and be left with the rest. So I'm going to take the upper body, and I think what I'm going to do here is let's see if I can figure out the best way of doing this. I'm going to select the accessories as well. This is all going to form part of the upper body and the lower body. So from here I've just selected the main part of the upper body, as well as the things like the rivets and charms on the gloves. And I'm just going to right click and press hide unselected. And that's going to leave us with this. So I'm going to create, no I'm not, I'll leave the layers for now, just close that back down. And I'm actually going to attach these to the rest of the body. So I can UV map all these together. So let's go to Unwrap UVW, and we'll do Open UV Editor, and you see everything's a bit of a mess right now. That's okay. We're going to select all the parts of the upper body. So let's go ahead and get that, figure out what we can do here just to make things easier. Looks like that's the belt buckle, so let's go ahead and select all of the belt buckle and get that moved out of the way for now. We've got the lower body, and that's everything else pretty much sorted. Let's just click on the rivets and the charm, so each one of these rivets. So I'm just selecting just a single polygon on each one, because all I'm going to do now is press gross selection, so it'll select all of them, and we'll move these off to the side, and now we're left with just the rest of the upper body. So let's start sorting these out. We've got the hands, or the gloves, whatever you want to call them. So let's move those over to the side. We've got the other sections. Let's move that over. We've got the other glove, bit of the arm there. Move them. And then we have the torso. So that's the front of the torso. It's just upside down. So let's rotate that around, turn on the angle snap toggle, do 180. Set the pivot point to the center by clicking this button here. This is the back, which again is also upside down. And there we go. Let's move this over here. Okay, we're not playing with the scale of these, we want everything to retain the same scale, at least for the upper body, and then we can sort out the rest a little bit further down the line. Let's just move this arm, which I believe is his left arm, yeah. So I'm just going to pop that on the left so I know which one it is, turn it up the right way around. And that's going to be his other arm, which I'm going to plonk just here for now. We've got a boot, and the soles of the boots. It's going to move them down below. Trousers, so let's get these boots down here. Then we have the thumbs for our gloves, which will drop over there. We'll work out which one's which in a bit. We've got our belt, which will just drop down there. We've got the top of the trousers, which will also drop down there. And of course the trousers themselves. So now we've got a clear UV space. So I'm just going to save here because I don't want anything to happen. It's already crashed on me today and I've had to re-record something, so let's just make sure we've got a save at this point. Okay, so let's start organising all this stuff. Now, the belt buckle can go down with the rest of these. We'll adjust the scale later, but we're just going to do the upper body for now. So what I'm going to do is just move these into place, or thereabouts, and I'm going to adjust the scale for all of these uniformly because they all attach to each other. So I want to be able to get as high resolution as possible because they're quite important pieces. So that's going to do for the front of the torso, I think. Just pop that a bit further into the corner. We'll deselect that one, hold down Alt and drag a box around it. Let's get this into place. That's his back. There we go. And let's get these arms down here. It doesn't look like we're going to have much room for the gloves. So let's just deselect the arms for now. Yeah, we're going to have to scale things down a little bit further. So let's just select everything again. Reduce the scale overall. And once again, just reorganize where everything is. Be able to stick the gloves in there, I think. So these are the arms. Might even be able to scale everything back up again as well. So this is the top of his left hand to our right. So let's go ahead and drop this in a place that makes sense for us. There's going to be, that's the lower section of it. Let's drop that into position. And we've got a thumb, which is this one here. You can tell which one's which because it'll highlight it in the main viewport. And when you have a shell selected, you'll see blue lines, which means that that's the point where it originated from and where it would weld to if we wanted to weld the edges together. And then we have the lower part of the other arm, or the upper part of the other hand. So we should have plenty of space to be able to increase the resolution a bit. So let's just reorganize things a bit, see if we can actually do that. Looks like we might well be able to do that actually. So let's pop those there. Let's move this up. That'll fit in just about, maybe, not quite. Might have to be a bit inventive with that one, but let's leave that there for now. Pop these down here, let's get the arms in. Yeah, we should have plenty of room to keep it at this current scale. Just drop drop a hand down here. I think that's the largest shell, so I'll pop that there and deselect this one, and we'll drop this other hand in there. plenty of space. Gonna have to adjust the fingers, and there is a hole as well between the fingers that we need to fix, so we'll do that as well. And let's just take this hand and we'll just put it below here, I think. Just rotate that around, drop that in there, center the pivot point, and just angle that slightly. Perfect. Cool, so we can actually have plenty of space here. These bits really don't matter too much. They're all the rivets and the charms and stuff, so let's just drop these in wherever we can. So let's find the charms. I do believe that is... yeah, that's going to be one of the charms there. No, one of them's a rivet. So let's just click that. Alright, that's the charm there. That's going to be a charm 2. So's that one. And so's that one. And these are going to be the edges for it. I'd like to scale these up because we did engrave something on them, so we'd like that to be visible. But what we can do with these, we can just pop them wherever we see fit and just use up some of the space which, you know, we're not going to be able to fit anything else in. So we can always up the scale of them, because these aren't really going to be attached to anything, so it doesn't matter if there's a seam, because we won't be able to see anything. There's going to be no seam. And we'll pop that there. We'll pop this here. We'll pop that one there. And we'll drop that in there. That's the underside, so it really doesn't matter at that point. And these are all the rivets, so we could just put them all on top of each other if you wanted to, but to be honest, that's going to be more of a pain in the ass than just sticking them in anywhere. So let's just pack them in as tight as we can. So we've still got some room to paint over if we need to, but also just filling up a portion of space which, you know, is really not going to be to any better use. Wasted UV space is wasted video memory, as it's still going to be loading the whole thing in. So to be efficient, use as much space as you can and fit as much as you can on a single UV. So we have the belt buckle, which I think, you know, I might as well stick in here as well. So let's just change the scale of that. Now we do have quite a nice decal on the front of the, nice detail on the front of the buckle, so we'd quite like to give it a bit of extra resolution, just because it's a bit of a characterful object. So let's give it that resolution that it needs, just by keeping the scale quite high. Of course, we can still fit things in, you know, just give it some extra space. There we go. And we've still got a few chunks that we could actually put things in, so I'm tempted to put the soles of the boots in there, but in the spirit of keeping things organised, I think we might actually put the accessories in, so the tools and stuff in there as well. So let's close that down for now, and we're going to collapse 2 and press yes. And now what we want to do is just select the elements which we join together, so all of these rivets, the charms, the belt buckle, anything that we stuck in that UV section. Let's just go ahead, let's grab these. I'm going to detach those, and I'm going to call them Forge Access for accessories. There we go. And now what we need to do is separate the rest of the body. So let's select all of the upper torso. Oop, forgot that's our lasso. So let's just select everything that we need around here. I'm going to just manually select this area as quickly as I can. So this is the point at where it transitions to the lower body. And change it into the trousers. So from here we can detach that and call that Forge Body. Okay. And from here, everything else should be pretty simple. Let's once again apply an Unwrap UVW modifier, open up the UV textures. Oh, one sec. Just delete that. If it's ever empty, it's because we have a selection mode enabled, so we've got polygon face selection mode there. Just click on Editable Poly and then unwrap again and go to UV Editor. And there we go, we have our UVs. So let's organise this. So the trousers are the main part. So we want to give them a fair amount of space. Let's just select everything and scale it up so it's all in the right scale. And let's just go ahead and shrink it down a bit. See if we can start fitting everything in at this resolution. So let's just pop the trousers there. And I need to go back and fix that, fix the holes in the gloves. So I'll bear that in mind once we've finished doing this. So I'm just going to pop these in where I can get the most resolution for them. So let's just get that into position. I'm going to turn off the angle snap so I've got a little bit more fine control over it. And that's got a pretty decent UV space there. It's not intersecting with anything. We've got a few gaps we can put a few things in there too. So let's deselect that, and we'll get the tops of the top of the trousers, which is a really awkward shape. So I'm just going to see if I can curve that around something that's already there and not take up too much space. I think it was fine the way it was though. Let's just rotate that and take up the corner. I think that'll be fine. Let's deselect it. And now we have the belt. I think we might need to actually scale things down a bit, but let's just see what we can get in first of all. Yeah, I think if we select the trousers and move them over, we can get that a bit more tightly packed. And we'll select the belt, we'll rotate that and drop that in along the side. There we go. So let's get the soles of the boots. Not sure which one that is. That's the sole of the left foot. Well, our left, his right. Let's drop that in there. We've got a bit of space. Do the same with the other one. Go. And now the boots. Now, I don't really want to lose any resolution, so I think, being so the boots are actually quite small in terms of the detail, I might just scale these down and sort of put them in where I can. So let's scale those down a bit. And that'll fit in there with a bit of tweaking, I think. then this one, looks like I might have to scale everything down a little bit. That's okay. Let's just move that down out the way a sec, and we'll scale everything a tiny bit, not a huge amount. Pack that into the corner. That sits fairly cleanly in there. Let's see where I can get this. That's awkward. I think if I do this, that will fit in there. I've just got to change the scale. So let's go ahead and set the top of these trousers. Let's just move them out of the way for the moment. And I think I'm going to see if I can just move these trousers over as well. Should be able to move that down there. Don't know if it's actually going to help, but should be able to fit the boot in here now. Bit of an angle. Nearly. Let's move this boot a little bit further over. Yeah, that'll fit in there nicely. And that'll enable us to squeeze this boot in, so there we go. Now for the top of the trousers, I'm hoping we should be able to get that to fit in between here somewhere. So let's grab that, all of it, and center the rotation point, and yeah, that'll fit in there nicely, just about. There we go. Plenty of room. Awesome. So that's the boots and everything done. It's just collapsed too. And that's largely the rest of it done. Let's just do unhide all and press yes. Let's bring up the layers and we'll hide the head with the beard. We've got the body now, so let's create a new layer for the body. Let's just call it upper torso. So that's really what it is. So let's grab the upper body, let's right click and press add selected objects. We'll do the same for the rivets and the belt buckle and things, and add that to the upper torso as well. So let's hide the upper torso, we'll hide the head and the beard, and we have the lower torso. So let's rename that to lower torso. Let's create a layer for it. Lower torso, and right click and add selected objects. We'll hide that. So then we have all this stuff in here. Well, looks like we may need to edit these a little bit. We can actually just delete a lot of the faces that aren't going to be seen. These aren't going to be taken out of the pouch or anything, they're just for effect. So let's go ahead and sort these accessories out. We're not going to see anything below this point really, so let's just fine tune this selection. So as long as, yeah, that's all good. Let's just delete that. We don't need to worry about those bits. Select that face which is showing through and delete that. Again, we're not going to see them, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so nothing intersecting except for this section, which we can just pull these polys forward We've got plenty of space for the hammer. So let's just pull them through. That'll do just fine. A little bit messed up, but doesn't matter. The bits that we can see are absolutely fine, so that doesn't matter at all. Okay, so apron and accessories and the hammer, we might as well have them all share the same texture space. So let's join all these together. We'll do attach and OK, and attach and OK, and now we'll sort out the UVs for these. So let's go to our Unwrap UVW, open up the UV editor, and start tidying this up. So we've got the hammer. Let's just grow the selection for it, so we have everything hammer related selected. Move that off to the side. We then have the accessories, like these little bits and pieces. Just select a face on everything that's separate. Grow the selection, and we have all our little tool bits and pieces. They can come off here. That's fine. And then we have our apron, which is a large important piece of everything. So we have the rim around the side, which means that it's the outside face. There we go. So let's go ahead and get this organized. It's just going to select the front of the apron, and I'm going to rotate it around. Just going to give myself a bit more space to play with. Rotate it around, drag that off to the side. Same thing with the back. And now, being so this is obviously the largest part of the model, in terms of the bits and pieces that we've got here, we want to give this the most UV space. So there we go. Let's see if we can organize this to give it a fair bit. Might need to actually flip it upside down perhaps. Let's just flip that round. Let's see where we can get that in. Right, what I'm going to do is eventually grab some food, because that's my stomach rumbling. Alright, it's going to be really irritating. Don't like we got enough space to really have them at this scale, so I'm just going to move that off to the side, and I'm going to reduce the scale of both of these. Gonna pop that. I think if I rotate this around, pop that into the top corner as close as I can. And this is only the inside of the apron, so it doesn't really matter too much, but it's still going to be a part which is visible from behind the character, so I'm going to drop that in here. I think I'm going to tuck it in as much as I can, and then I'm going to see if I can increase the scale. So let's pop that in here. See if I can get it as close and closely packed as I can without overlapping. Then I'm going to grab them both, and I'm going to set the, if you hold the left mouse button down on here, you can set the pivot point to the top left corner, and when you scale out, it'll scale out from that point. So managed to get a bit more resolution. I'm going to see if I can tweak that a bit more. Just changing the position slightly and the rotation of it. That should give us plenty more space. I'm going to scale it some more. Again, set the pivot point to the top left hand corner. Get as much resolution as I can. So the UV space represents the resolution of the texture. So depending on the resolution of the image, if we decide to do a 1024 by 1024 texture map for this, for instance, it's going to be 1024 pixels along the bottom, 1024 at the side. So if this apron only took up half of this space, really it's only a 512 map on it, which means that it's quite low resolution. Ideally, I'd like to take up as much of that space as possible to get as much detail in there as I can. With these tools, well, nothing special about these, just a case, scale them down, drop them in when you can. And to be honest, might as well just give them some extra resolution because we've got the space for it. Although the hammer's probably more important, so I'm going to reduce the resolution on these, pop them over to the side for now, and we're going to get the hammer in here. Let's see if we can get that to take up a bit more space. Of course, I do need to scale everything with the hammer. So I'm going to scale that down. Going to rotate it around over to the point where I can get it to fit in quite nicely. Then I can compact it down a bit. Just deselect that. Let's move these up. Spread these out a little bit more, being so these are going to have detailed text on them. It'd be nice if we can actually give these a bit more resolution, so we'll find some space for these, or make some space. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, accessories. Just drop these in wherever we want, really. There we go. Right, so that's that done. Just collapse that down, collapse 2 and press yes. Let's just get these separated out, and we're just going to create a new layer and call that accessories, and right click and press add selected objects. Okay, so now what we need to do is get everything separated out so we can make the cages, which is going to allow for the texture projection. So I'm going to go ahead and do that in the next chapter and get the cages sorted there. So that's all the UV maps done, and actually what we want to do here, just to finish everything off before we end this video, we want to set up what's called material IDs. These are going to be really important later on. For when we want to actually assign textures inside the game engine, as it will allow us to apply multiple textures to the same model without having to have in different pieces. So I'm going to unhide all and press yes, so we unhide all the layers. So we have the head, we have the beard. In fact, I'm going to hide all the layers except for the head and beard area. So everything in this group we want to have a material ID set to 1. So let's go ahead and do that. So we've got the head selected for now. We want to select all of the polygons, and we want to go down to our material ID, type in 1 and press enter. While we're at it, we might as well just press auto smooth as well. We'll go over that a little bit later when we stitch it back together. So select the material ID, set it as 1, we want to click on editable poly again, select the beard, again select the whole thing, and once again go down to our material ID and set it as 1. We then want to do this for every single element, so we'll select the beard braids and set the material ID as 1. And finally the eyes, just click on select element, just select the eyes, select the whole thing, everything there, and set the material ID as 1 there. We'll then come into our material editor and we're going to create a new material. If yours is the expanded mode, press modes and press compact material editor. This is just the way I've gotten used to doing it. Click on where it says standard and we'll have the option to make a multi sub-object material. Double click on this and select discard old material, and from here we can give these names. This is a material ID and we're going to name that head, and from there we're going to assign it a standard material from where it says none, and we'll call that head. We'll then click the go to parent button here to go up. We're then going to assign material ID 2 to the upper torso, and set that to a standard material, and change the name here as well to upper torso. And then we've got material 3, that's going to be lower torso. Click on none, double click on standard and type in lower torso on there as well. Press the go to parent button, and finally we have accessories. Click on none, select standard and type in accessories in here. There we go. Then we can assign this material to our head, to our eyes, and to our beard, and also the braids as well. Now if we go back to our selection mode, let's select the head for instance, just click on a polygon, and down here it will tell you that it's part of the head, so it's material 1 set to the head. And now we need to assign the material IDs to the rest of the body with the corresponding UV maps there. So that's the head. Let's turn off the head and the beard, and we'll turn on the upper torso. Now here we want everything to have the same ID, so we'll again go to polygon selection mode, select everything, and we want to make sure that is definitely set to material 2. I'm just going to turn off polygon edit mode, just double click on editable poly, single click rather, just drag the material onto the body and onto the individual sections, so that's the accessories, there we go. And from here, again just make sure that everything's all set correctly, so this is set to the upper torso, that's good. Let's click on the accessories, select all of the polygons there. That's set to the head at the moment, so we need to set that to material set ID 2, and that'll set it to the upper torso because that's where the UVs are. We'll then go to the lower torso, make that visible. We'll drag the material over here, and then we'll again select polygon edit mode, select the whole lot, and set this to material ID 3. And finally we have the accessories, so let's turn that off, turn on accessories, and here we'll once again select everything, and we'll set the ID on here to number 4 and just drag the material over. So number 4 should come up as accessories. Yeah. Let's just click off that, drag the material over, just, yeah, make sure. Polygon select mode, drag over the whole lot, and there we go, everything's set to accessories now. So that means that we'll have different textures for each section, which means we can edit them, we can change them, and all that kind of stuff. So now we just need to break everything apart. So let's just go ahead and select these tools here, each element of them. There we go. And we'll detach those, and we'll call them Forge_tools. Okay. And we'll do the same with the hammer. We'll do detach, and that will be Forge_big hammer. Okay. And then here we have the apron. So Forge_apron. Okay, so this is going to give us the basis for our cages. So let's make sure we've got everything else set the same as well. So let's go to the upper torso. Actually, we're going to do the head first. So everything's separate here. So this is where things are going to get very important. So I'm going to save up here, and we're going to go and create our cages in the next chapter. So join me in the next section, guys, and we'll create our cages and we'll start baking out our textures. So catch you soon.